Hello, my name is Salim El Amin, and today I decided to create my slideshow in regards to Prince. Rest in peace, Prince. This is when Prince decided to go toe to toe and take Warner Brothers to court. And the title of my page is called The Artist Formerly Known as Prince. With Prince bargaining positions, some of the bargaining positions that Prince wanted before the meeting that he really just wanted to have was the funding for Paisley Park Records. Also, he wanted to have $100 million contract. He also wanted $10 million bonus per album. So each album that he will make, he wanted to have a $10 million bonus, also known as like an advance. He also wanted to have 20% of his royalty rate sent directly to him. So every quarter, when the royalties was paid out, Prince, he wanted to have 20% of the rate. Now this $100 million deal made Prince one of the highest paid artists of that time. He actually made more money than Madonna and also Michael Jackson as well. Prince also wanted to own his master's recordings and publishing. And also he wanted to have ownership of his name as well. Now, the bargaining positions for Warner Brothers was they wanted an album they wanted 6 albums per contract within this deal. And they also wanted with the limited release. So they didn't want Prince to start creating so many albums. Also, they wanted the masters and also publishing ownership. And they also wanted the ownership of Prince's name as well. Now, the underlining interest with Prince during this negotiation, it actually was he wanted to own his own master recording. He also wanted to own the publishing in his name. So with that, he would be able to, reach out to other brands, sponsorships, so commercials, television shows, and even movies. He would then be able to, since he owned the masters and the publishing, he will be able to sell and license it to movies, televisions, and commercials. Things that he was, proud about that he wanted done. He also needed the money to funding his company Paisley Park Records. With Paisley Park Records and Studios, this was a record label, and also he built a home to where he could have live events where he could perform and he could invite other artists to come and perform and sell tickets as well. He also wanted to have freedom to release his music the way he wanted and how he wanted. So that was also very important to Prince too. Being that he was an ultimate artist, he wanted to be able to create the music right there on the spot, take the music and have the record company just distribute it to his fans. He was kind of ahead of his time when it comes to like artists to consumer, straight artist to consumer. He was ahead of his time at that time. So a lot of people didn't understand him and the way that he actually thought. So with his underlying interest, that was a little something new for the record companies to kind of adjust to and figure out because they never did it before. Now, with Warner Brothers underlining interest, they actually wanted to own Prince's masters. They wanted to own his past, present, and his future masters. So any album he created before this particular time, such as Purple Rain, 1999, the Prince album, all of those albums was done prior, but Warner Brothers, they felt as though since they put money behind him, they should own the masters to those recordings as well as any recordings he was currently doing, as well as any future recordings. And this was for life. So Prince was very much against the request of Warner Brothers Records, when they decided that they wanted to have his masters, his name, everything, they wanted to own that for life. So even after Prince is gone, that means his family or loved ones wouldn't be able to profit or even get any money off of it because of the way the record company wanted to control everything. Also, they needed revenue from Prince to create and keep their record company going, because at the time Warner Brother Records was like a new record company, and Prince was one of the artists that will be on big artist that was on the record company. So he would generate a lot of money for the company, so therefore they wanted to keep him there and own his masters so that they can constantly generate income for him and to put into their new artists. Also, they wanted to utilize his music by owning the masters to sample music whenever they want to. Prince was also against artists sampling his music. However, the record companies, that's one of the ways record companies do make money, by sampling their older artists' music to new artists and emerging artists that's coming up. So they wanted to have that freedom to be able to basically control all his music, and he was against that. All right, so with some of the other three concepts that I decided to talk about was game theory. Prince and the record company actually used game theory, and they used the non-zero sum game theory. The reason why I say this is because Prince didn't necessarily want to leave his record company in the mid at the beginning of the negotiations. He just wanted to have something, to walk away with something that was actually more fair to him. Meaning owning his masters, being able to create the music and sign the artists that he wanted to. So he didn't want to leave the record company. He didn't want to make the record company feel like he didn't want to work with them. He just wanted to be able to have his freedom. However, the record company, Warner Brothers Records, also didn't want to drop Prince or, cut him from the record company. They wanted to find a way that they could honor Prince as being one of their legendary artists on the record company and the platform. So they wanted to also work with Prince to figure out a way that they can kind of meet in the middle, and really not necessarily meet in the middle as far as them getting what they want and allowing Prince to get a little bit of what he wanted. So they didn't, they had no hard feelings. It was just kind of strictly business with them. Um, However, the other concepts that I would say would be BATNA, because even though Prince may have to walk away from this record deal, he would then be able to, like he wanted to. He said, "Hey, if I can't have my masters here, I'll go to a new record company, re-record my songs." Previous and old songs that I've recorded in the past, and redistribute them to the audience. Now, with that, he will then give the audience more so the opportunity to decide if they wanted to buy his new music that he re-recorded, or if they wanted to take the music and purchase it from the old record company. But though that was his ulterior, BATNA, really knowing that he can walk away, he can create new music for himself, he can recreate the old magic that he had before. With Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers Records, they felt as though if they walked away from this deal, what they can do with Prince is they can recreate greatest hits album so that they can still generate money from his old his old music, his old catalog, anything that he personally created presently, until they can make as much money off of it as possible. They even could also walk away by having established new artists that's coming up and rising recreate Prince's songs by singing covers, and that can be a way that they could also generate money, if Prince decided to walk away. The last and final communication form was inspirer and commander. I would say the inspirer, the person that had inspiration, that was a creative, was Prince, because with the record company, he was able to establish creativity, making music for himself and also other artists, establish personas for other artists, and writing plethora of music. And he can play all his instruments. So being a creative like that, he would have to make sure he go into this negotiation, understanding and being organized to know what he wants, to know how to ask for it. And as far as the record company, they really more so had a commander kind of background or persona about them, because they, even though they wanted to work with Prince, they wanted to demand him that he couldn't do certain things like release music when he wanted to, he couldn't tour when he wanted to. Also, they wanted to just couldn't have overall control of his masters. Now, with that, they didn't want to make a change for him, and kind of didn't want to listen to him when it would come to him opening up and doing different things for the music industry. What went well for Prince was that Prince was actually eventually, even though it took a long time, in 2014, he was able to gain his ownership of his masters. He also was able to receive that $100 million contract as well. And he also even resigned to Warner Brothers as a way to regain his masters back for the company. What also went well for Warner Brothers was they was able to, eventually shut down Paisley Park Records, which they wanted to, so that they can actually save more money. They also got Prince to resign to the record company in regards to, in return, having ownership of his master. So they was able to keep the ownership until Prince actually completed that contract of what he needed to complete for the record company. The thing that went wrong was Prince ultimately fought a long fight with the record company. Um, the momentum lost. He was able to he also lost his record company, Paisley Park Records, and also lost a lot of money that he could have gained by touring and releasing new albums for the record company. What went wrong for Warner Brothers is they actually had, because Prince then created the slave face tattoo, or the writing on his face, it created a PR war with Prince and Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers didn't want to really be under that scrutiny of having their artists or new artists that wanted to sign feel like they was really a slave trade in a way. Also, no return on ROI, meaning they didn't return on the investment at the time that they wanted to, because they were in litigation with Prince for so long. A lot of the money that they could have made within that time frame, they actually lost because they had to put it in court fees and go back and forth to court with Prince. They eventually, for some time, also lost a superstar at a time where, those superstars like Madonna, Michael Jackson, was very important for record companies to have, to be able to negotiate with new artists. So by Warner Brother Records losing Prince, they lost, a superstar in a way they can negotiate. As far as the relationship, how is this relationship towards the end? I would say yes, this relationship is reconcilable, meaning they were able to come back together and work together what they needed to work out to meet both in the middle. And this was a meaningful relationship because I feel, and just seeing, record companies is now have to start to figure out how they can respect their artists, especially that they're legends that put a lot of their life on the line, a lot of money into the company. So it's a mutual respect between both the artist and also the record company. Right, and that includes my slide, and I want to thank you. You have a great day.